The sky turned silver that morning, not the pale gray of storm clouds or the brilliant blue of clear days, but a metallic sheen that reflected sunlight in strange patterns across the buildings of New York, Beijing, London, and every city around the world. Commander Ethan Powell stood on the roof of the Space Defense Force headquarters, looking up with narrowed eyes. "Sir, you need to see this," said his assistant, rushing through the door with a tablet in hand. "All satellites are picking up the same thing." The tablet showed a massive object at least 5 miles across, approaching Earth's orbit. It wasn't moving like a meteor or comet. It slowed deliberately, positioning itself perfectly between Earth and the Moon. "Get me the president," Powell said, his voice calm despite the hammering in his chest. Within hours, every television and phone on Earth showed the same image, a sleek vessel of impossible size hovering above the planet. People poured into streets, some crying, some praying, while others stayed locked inside their homes. Dr. Olivia Grant watched from her laboratory at the International Communications Center. As the world's leading expert in theoretical alien languages, she had spent her career preparing for this moment, yet nothing could have truly prepared anyone for first contact. "This is not a drill," the emergency broadcast system announced. "Please remain calm and await further instructions." 3 days passed with the ship simply watching. Military forces worldwide remained on high alert while governments scrambled to form a unified response. On the 4th day, it happened. "We come in peace," said the message, transmitted simultaneously in every major language to all communication devices globally. "We are the Vorsian Alliance, travelers from the stars seeking new friends." The alien who appeared on screen called himself Krell Vox. He looked almost human, except for his silver-blue skin and eyes with vertical pupils. His smile revealed teeth, too perfect to be natural. "We have watched your world for some time," Krell Vox continued. "Your art, your music, your passionate desire to explore beyond your boundaries. These things have moved us. We wish to establish diplomatic relations and offer technological exchange." World leaders gathered in Geneva for the first official meeting. Commander Powell attended alongside Admiral Peter Morgan, both representing Earth's military interests. Dr. Grant was there to analyze the aliens' language patterns. Lisa Torres, a communications specialist known for her unmatched hacking skills, wasn't invited to the meeting. Instead, she sat in her apartment, surrounded by screens, intercepting every transmission between the mothership and Earth. "Something's not right," she muttered, noticing encrypted data packets hidden within the seemingly friendly messages. At the Geneva meeting, Krell Vox presented miraculous technologies: cures for cancer, solutions for climate change, engines that could reach Mars in days instead of months. "All these gifts we offer freely," he said, his translator converting his clicks and hums into smooth English. "We ask only for friendship and cultural exchange." Senator Frank Murphy, heading the diplomatic committee, couldn't hide his excitement. "This is the greatest day in human history," he declared to the press afterward. But Dr. Grant felt uneasy. In her hotel room that night, she reviewed recordings of the Vorsian language. Their linguistic structure contained subtle dominance markers, patterns that in human languages would indicate threats, not offers. "Admiral Morgan," she said over a secure line, "I need to speak with you and Commander Powell immediately." They met in a small cafe away from the main conference center. Dr. Grant explained her concerns while Commander Powell nodded grimly. "Their ship movements don't match their friendly claims either," Powell said. "They've positioned smaller vessels at strategic points throughout our solar system, claiming they're observation posts, but they could easily be offensive platforms." Admiral Morgan sighed. "Without concrete proof, the world governments won't listen. Everyone's too excited about the medical advances they've already shared." That night, Lisa Torres broke through an alien encryption. What she found turned her blood cold. Sketchy plans, military formations, weapon specifications. She immediately sent everything to Powell's secure server. 2 weeks after first contact, Vorsian technical advisors arrived on Earth to help implement their advanced technologies. They established bases in every major nation, always accompanied by diplomatic teams and media coverage showing their generous assistance. The Vorzians have helped us achieve in months what would have taken decades, announced the Secretary General on worldwide television. Their medical technology alone has saved thousands of lives already. Meanwhile, Commander Powell, Dr. Grant, and a small team worked secretly to understand the aliens' true intentions. Lisa Torres joined them, bringing her evidence from the encrypted transmissions. They're mapping our defense systems, Powell said, examining Lisa's findings. Every piece of technology they've given us contains monitoring devices. Dr. Grant nodded. And linguistically, they're using subtle techniques to make us more compliant. The structure of their communications is designed to reduce resistance over time. 3 months after first contact, the Vorzians proposed a major upgrade to Earth's defense systems. Your current satellite network is vulnerable, Krelvox explained to the United Nations Security Council. We can help you improve it, making it compatible with our shield technology that has protected our worlds for centuries. Most world leaders eagerly accepted. Only a few nations expressed hesitation. They want us to link our entire defense grid to their systems, Admiral Morgan warned in a closed-door meeting with military officials from several countries. Once we do that, they could potentially control everything. But the public pressure was immense. People had seen the medical miracles, the clean energy solutions, the end of food shortages in developing nations. How could anyone oppose such generous allies? 6 months after the silver ship appeared in Earth's sky, the compatibility upgrades began. Military satellites worldwide were temporarily shut down for reconfiguration. On the day the system was scheduled to come back online, Commander Powell stood in the control room of Space Defense Force headquarters, watching technicians work alongside Vorzian advisors. His secure phone vibrated, a message from Lisa Torres. Found attack plans scheduled for today, get out now. Powell looked up at the smiling Vorzian technician beside him, seeing for the first time the cold calculation behind those vertical pupil eyes. Across the world, in research labs, military bases, and government buildings, Dr. Grant, Admiral Morgan, and others in their secret coalition received the same warning. Just as the global defense network came back online, Krelvox appeared on every screen worldwide. His friendly smile was gone. People of Earth, he said, no longer bothering with the translator speaking perfect English. Thank you for your cooperation. The Vorzian Alliance now claims this world as our newest territory. Behind him, footage began playing of Earth's military, bases being destroyed by precision strikes. Cities with government centers were surrounded by Vorzian ships that seemed to appear from nowhere. The broadcast of humanity's defeat had begun. The screens didn't turn off for days. Every television, phone, and computer displayed the same images on repeat. Earth's military bases in ruins, cities under alien control, world leaders surrendering to Vorzian commanders. The message was clear. Humanity had lost. Commander Ethan Powell watched from a hidden bunker 50 feet underground. He had escaped the Space Defense headquarters minutes before Vorzian forces stormed the building. With him were 12 officers, who had heeded his hasty warning. They're showing the fall of Paris again, said Lieutenant Rogers, his eyes fixed on a small screen. Third time today. Powell nodded grimly. They want to break our spirit. Make resistance seem impossible. The bunker had been built during the Cold War and updated secretly over the years. It contained enough supplies for a month, basic communications equipment, and weapons. Most importantly, it wasn't on any official records the Vorzians could access. Across the city, Kate Donovan sat in the darkened studio of the Global Broadcasting Network. As the media specialist in charge of emergency communications, she had been forced at gunpoint to keep the transmission equipment running. 2 Vorzian guards stood nearby, their weapons ready. Kate watched the footage carefully. Something wasn't right. The video showing the destruction of the London Eye played again, and she noticed the clouds in the background jumped slightly, a classic sign of edited footage. It's fake, she whispered to herself. At least parts of it. The taller Vorzian guard looked at her sharply. Kate pretended to adjust some settings on her console. On the outskirts of Washington, D.C., General William Stewart led a group of 30 soldiers through sewers and maintenance tunnels. They had been conducting exercises in remote mountains when the attack began, and had managed to avoid capture. The aliens control the skies and main roads, he told his troops. But they don't know these underground passages. Not yet. Their destination was a hardened communications facility built beneath an ordinary-looking office building. If it remained intact, they could potentially reach military units worldwide. Dr. Olivia Grant had made it to a university research lab with Admiral Morgan. They huddled with a small group of scientists around a table covered with papers and makeshift radio equipment. The Vorsians are blocking all standard communications, Dr. Grant explained. But they don't seem to know about our experimental quantum entanglement system. Admiral Morgan nodded. Can we reach Powell? I believe so, she replied. If his team has access to the receiver we installed at the bunker last year. The door burst open as Lisa Torres rushed in, carrying several laptops. Her face was dirty, and a cut above her eye had dried with blood. I managed to tap into their network, she said breathlessly. They're using our own satellites against us, but there's a weakness in how they've connected everything. On the main screen of the alien broadcast, the Vorsian Supreme Commander Drazkor appeared. Unlike Krelvox, he made no attempt to seem friendly. His face was scarred, his uniform adorned with what looked like trophies from conquered worlds. People of Earth, he announced. Your planetary surrender is being finalized. Your remaining military forces have been neutralized. Resistance is not only futile, but punishable by immediate execution. The screen split to show groups of captured soldiers lined up against walls, Vorsian weapons pointed at them. In an abandoned subway station beneath Chicago, Alan Morris helped organize one of the first resistance cells. A former emergency management coordinator, he had quickly gathered a group of police officers, paramedics, and ordinary citizens determined to fight back. They control the airwaves, he told the group of 30 people gathered in the dim light. But they can't be everywhere at once. We need to establish communication with other cities, find out what's really happening versus what they're showing us. A young police officer raised her hand. My brother works for the radio station. The old equipment, the stuff from before everything went digital, might still work. The aliens probably wouldn't monitor outdated technology. Alan nodded enthusiastically. That's exactly the kind of thinking we need. Director Nicole Harris of the Earth Intelligence Agency had prepared for many scenarios. Nuclear war, climate, disasters, even pandemics. But alien invasion had seemed too far-fetched to develop detailed plans. Now, in a secure facility underneath a mountain, she gathered her remaining agents. We need information, she said firmly. Real information, not the propaganda they're broadcasting. And we need to find any government officials who escaped the initial attack. 1 week after the invasion began, Commander Powell established contact with Dr. Grant through the quantum entanglement device. The system could only transmit text, but it was enough. Broadcast mostly fake, Powell typed. Confirm? Dr. Grant's response came quickly. Yes. Kate Donovan at GBN reports significant editing. Destruction exaggerated. This news spread slowly through resistance groups forming around the world. The Vorsians had indeed caused significant damage and taken control of major cities, but their forces were not as overwhelming as the broadcast suggested. General Stewart reached the communications facility to find it damaged, but partially functional. His team worked day and night to restore critical systems, using parts salvaged from nearby buildings. If we can access the military satellite network, he explained to his second-in-command, we might be able to see the true extent of their forces. Kate Donovan took enormous risks at the broadcast center. While pretending to maintain the equipment for the alien propaganda, she secretly copied files and examined the original footage before it was edited. They're hiding something, she told, a janitor who was part of Alan Morris's resistance network. The same Vorsian ships appear in multiple locations. I think their fleet is much smaller than they want us to believe. This information made its way to Lisa Torres, who continued her work hacking into the alien systems. What she discovered confirmed Kate's suspicion. The Vorsians had fewer than 50 ships globally, not the hundreds shown in their broadcasts. By the end of the second week, the resistance had begun to take shape. Using old radio equipment, Morse code, and even human messengers, groups established contact across regions. The quantum link between Powell and Grant served as the backbone for coordinating information. Admiral Morgan met with several former government officials in a safe house outside Boston. "We need to hit back," he said. "Show people that resistance is possible." Dr. Grant shook her head. "Not yet. The Vorsians still have technological superiority. We need to understand their weaknesses first." On the screen in front of them, Drazkor continued his daily address. "Citizens of Earth, your new era under Vorsian guidance has begun. Report any signs of resistance immediately. Compliance will be rewarded. Defiance will not be tolerated." But, behind his confident words, a plan was forming that would turn the aliens' greatest weapon, their control of global broadcasts, against them. 1 month after the invasion, the resistance had grown stronger and more organized. Hidden away in a former military research facility 20 miles outside Atlanta, Dr. Ryan Fletcher worked tirelessly on a device that might change the course of the war. "The Vorsians communicate through a neural network," he explained to Commander Powell during a secure video call. "Their ships, their weapons, even their soldiers are all connected. It's their strength, but it could also be their weakness." Powell leaned forward, his tired face brightening with interest. "What kind of weakness?" Dr. Fletcher held up a small device that looked like a modified radio transmitter. "This prototype can disrupt their network for short periods, not permanently, but enough to disable their technology temporarily." Across the room, Lisa Torres worked on her array of computers. She had managed to infiltrate deeper into the Vorsian systems, discovering files that contained the aliens' strategic plans. "They're spreading themselves thin," she reported, "trying to control too much territory with limited forces. And there's something else. They're constantly broadcasting to their own fleet. Some kind of morale-boosting propaganda." Powell nodded, thoughtfully. "So they use psychological warfare on their own troops, too." Meanwhile, in Chicago, Sergeant Diane Hughes led a team of former Special Forces operatives on increasingly bold missions. They avoided direct confrontation with the aliens, instead focusing on gathering supplies and rescuing humans from detention centers. "We need to hit their communication relays," Hughes told her team as they gathered in an abandoned subway maintenance room. "Not to destroy them, we need them intact. According to our intel, we might be able to use them ourselves." Jacob Bennett, once a producer for a major television network, had joined Hughes's team after escaping from a Vorsian processing center, where he had been forced to edit propaganda broadcasts. "Their broadcast technology is actually quite similar to ours, just more advanced," he explained. "If we can access their main transmission hub, we might be able to insert our own content into their feed." In what remained of NASA's Johnson Space Center, Maria Ramirez prepared for her most dangerous mission yet. As one of the few pilots trained on the experimental stealth spacecraft developed before the invasion, she had been conducting reconnaissance flights, gathering critical intelligence on Vorsian positions. "They've concentrated their forces around major cities and military installations," she reported to Admiral Morgan via a secure quantum link. "But large parts of the countryside are barely watched, and their fleet is definitely smaller than they want us to believe. I count no more than 47 distinct ships globally." Dr. Olivia Grant had made a breakthrough in her understanding of the Vorsian language. Working day and night in her makeshift laboratory, she had decoded their complete linguistic structure. "They don't just communicate with words," she explained to the Resistance Council formed of leaders from different cells. "Their language contains embedded frequency patterns that carry emotional and command signals. That's how they maintain control over their troops." The council met virtually, using the secure quantum network that had expanded as resistance members recovered more of the specialized communication equipment. "If we understand their language completely," Admiral Morgan said, "could we potentially issue commands that their forces would follow?" Dr. Grant nodded cautiously. "Theoretically, yes, but we'd need access to their main broadcast system." Commander Powell shared Dr. Fletcher's findings about the neural network disruption device. "This could give us the window we need to seize control of their broadcasting equipment." Lisa Torres raised her hand. "I've discovered something else. The Vorzian systems are vulnerable to a particular type of code sequence. If we can introduce it into their network, we could temporarily freeze their defensive systems. The pieces of a plan began to take shape. Using Maria's reconnaissance data, they identified the locations of key Vorzian communication hubs. Sergeant Hughes and her teams would lead raids to capture these facilities. Dr. Fletcher's disruption devices would disable the alien defenses temporarily, while Lisa's code would keep their systems frozen long enough for the teams to secure their positions. But the most crucial element came from Jacob Bennett. "We need to create our own broadcast," he explained. "Something powerful enough to counteract months of their propaganda. We need to show both humans and Vorzians what's really happening." In a Vorzian command center in what was once the United Nations building in New York, Occupation Commander Mestor reviewed reports with growing concern. "Resistance activities have increased by 42% in the last week," he told Supreme Commander Drazkor via holographic communication. "We may need reinforcements." Drazkor's expression darkened. "There are no reinforcements available. The humans must believe we are stronger than we actually are. Increase the frequency of the defeat broadcasts. Show more executions." What the Vorzian commander didn't know was that Lisa Torres had hacked into this very communication channel. Every word was being recorded and transmitted to resistance cells worldwide. The next phase required careful coordination. Dr. Fletcher distributed his disruption devices to Hughes teams across different regions. Maria Ramirez used her stealth craft to transport key personnel and equipment to strategic locations. Dr. Grant prepared linguistic override commands that could confuse the Vorzian forces. 2 months after the invasion, Commander Powell gathered the resistance leaders for the final planning session. "We have one chance to do this right," he told them. "If we fail, the Vorzians will adapt their systems to prevent another attempt." Admiral Morgan nodded grimly. "The element of surprise is crucial. All teams must strike simultaneously, the moment the disruption devices are activated." Jacob Bennett showed them the broadcast he had prepared with help from resistance members with media backgrounds. It contained footage of successful resistance operations, evidence of the Vorzians' exaggerated numbers, and clips of their own leaders admitting their deception. "We'll interrupt their victory broadcast with the truth," he said. "Both for our people and for theirs." Dr. Grant had another crucial addition. "I've prepared a message in perfect Vorzian language that will create confusion in their command structure. It contains embedded frequencies that should trigger uncertainty and doubt." The plan was set for execution in 3 days. Resistance cells worldwide prepared for coordinated strikes on Vorzian communication hubs. Engineers modified equipment to interface with alien technology. Fighters checked weapons and memorized assignments. On the eve of the operation, Commander Powell spoke to the assembled team at the main resistance base. "Tomorrow we show the Vorzians and ourselves what humanity is truly capable of," he said. "They aired our defeat to break our spirit. We will respond by broadcasting our counterattack, live, for everyone to see." As dawn broke the next day, resistance fighters moved into position around the world. In orbit, Maria Ramirez navigated her stealth craft toward the Vorzian command satellite. In broadcast centers across the globe, technicians like Kate Donovan prepared to seize control of the transmission equipment. The moment had come to turn the aliens' greatest weapon against them. The counterattack broadcast was about to begin. The morning of the counterattack began with silence. Across the globe, resistance fighters moved into position with practiced stealth. They approached Vorzian communication centers, broadcast facilities, and relay stations. Each team carried one of Dr. Fletcher's neural network disruptors and a small device programmed with Lisa's code. Colonel Samuel Carter led 50 soldiers toward the main broadcast center in what was once downtown Los Angeles. Dressed in scavenged Vorzian worker uniforms, they approached the gleaming silver building in small groups. "Remember," he whispered into his hidden microphone, "we need 15 minutes of control. That's all." Inside the satellite relay station, orbiting Earth, Maria Ramirez docked her stealth craft to an emergency airlock. The station controlled all broadcast signals between Earth and the Vorzian fleet. Taking it was perhaps the most crucial part of the plan. "I'm in position," she reported through her quantum communicator. With her was Lieutenant Heather Mitchell and 3 other specialists trained to operate alien technology. Dr. Patricia Lane monitored communications from a hidden bunker in the Rocky Mountains. She had designed the broadcasting override system that would hijack the Vorsian network. "All teams report ready," she told Commander Powell, who stood beside her watching multiple screens showing team positions. Powell checked his watch. "Synchronize to my mark. 3, 2, 1. Execute." Across the world at the exact same moment, resistance fighters activated Dr. Fletcher's devices. The effect was immediate. Vorsian guards stumbled, their neural implants disrupted by the specific frequency pattern. Their weapons, connected to the same network, temporarily deactivated. Lisa Torres, stationed at a computer center in Chicago, launched her attack code simultaneously. It spread through the Vorsian systems like a digital wildfire. "Their network is freezing," she reported excitedly. "Systems are locking up worldwide." The resistance teams moved quickly. They had only minutes before the Vorsians adapted to the disruption. In Los Angeles, Colonel Carter's team secured the broadcast center with minimal resistance. The confused Vorsian operators were quickly subdued. Engineer Greg Wallace immediately began connecting human equipment to the alien technology. "Their systems are similar to ours," he muttered as he worked. "Just more advanced. We can make this work." In orbit, Maria and Lieutenant Mitchell encountered more difficulty. The Vorsian commander of the relay station had a backup neural link that wasn't affected by the disruption. He fought fiercely, injuring 2 of their team before Mitchell managed to stun him with an electrical charge. "Station secured," Maria reported, breathing heavily. "But we've got wounded. How long until the network adapts?" 8 minutes remaining on projected disruption window, Dr. Lane replied from her command post. "Start the interface now." Across Earth, the victory broadcast suddenly froze. Screens everywhere showed the same image of Vorsian Supreme Commander Draz Kor in mid-speech. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then the screens flickered and changed. Jacob Bennett's carefully prepared broadcast began playing everywhere. It opened with genuine footage of the initial Vorsian attack, showing their actual numbers, far fewer than the propaganda had suggested. It continued with scenes of successful resistance operations from the past months. But most damaging was the inclusion of intercepted communications between Vorsian commanders, with Dr. Grant's perfect translations as subtitles. "The humans must never know how few we really are," Draz Kor's voice stated clearly. "Our entire strategy depends on their belief in our overwhelming force." In Vorsian command centers, confusion spread. Officers tried desperately to regain control of the broadcast system. In the main mothership hovering over what was once Geneva, Draz Kor raged at his subordinates. "Cut all transmissions," he screamed. "Shut down the entire network if necessary." But Lisa's code had locked them out of their own systems. The broadcast continued, now showing resistance fighters around the world moving against Vorsian positions. It wasn't staged footage, it was happening live right now. Dr. Grant's message in perfect Vorsian language began playing directly to the alien troops. The carefully structured sentences contained the same neural frequency patterns they used for command and control, but these carried doubt and uncertainty instead of confidence. "Your leaders have deceived you," the message stated in the aliens' own language and thought patterns. "They have committed you to a war you cannot win, on a planet whose defenders outnumber you thousands to 1. The effect was immediate. Across Earth, Vorsian soldiers hesitated, suddenly unsure of their mission. Some even removed their helmets, breaking the neural connection to their command structure. Commander Powell watched the broadcasts with tense anticipation. "What's happening on the ground?" he asked over the command channel. Reports flooded in from resistance cells worldwide. Vorsian forces were retreating in many areas, falling back to defensive positions around their ships. In some locations, alien soldiers had surrendered, confused by the conflicting commands in their neural network. Colonel Carter secured the Los Angeles Broadcast Center completely. "We've got full control here," he reported. "The Vorsians are falling back citywide." In orbit, Maria and Lieutenant Mitchell finished reconfiguring the relay station. "We've locked out all Vorsian override attempts," Maria reported. "They can't regain control of the broadcast network without physically retaking these facilities." On screens worldwide, the broadcast now showed a split image. On one side, the fake footage of Earth's defeat that the Vorsians had been playing for months. On the other, the reality of the resistance fighting back and succeeding. Jacob Bennett appeared on camera, his face serious but hopeful. "People of Earth, what you're seeing is real. The Vorsian broadcasts of our total defeat were false. Their forces are limited. Their control is breaking. Stand up, fight back. We can win this. We are winning this right now." The broadcast continued, showing resistance fighters in Paris, Tokyo, Cairo, and dozens of other cities advancing against confused and retreating Vorsian forces. Ordinary citizens joined the fight, emerging from homes and shelters to support the organized resistance. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, Powell received an unexpected transmission from a Vorsian ship. "This is Subcommander Trell Nax of the 3rd Fleet," came a hesitant voice. "We request dialogue. Many of us were not informed of the true nature of this mission." Powell exchanged stunned glances with Admiral Morgan. "Dissension in the alien. Ranks was an unexpected bonus. Accept the communication," Morgan advised, "but stay alert for tricks." As the 3rd hour of the counterattack approached, the tide had clearly turned. Vorsian forces were in retreat worldwide. Their carefully constructed illusion of overwhelming power had been shattered. In what had once been the United Nations building, Vorsian Information Minister Krav Zul watched in horror as humans surrounded the structure. All his carefully crafted propaganda had been undone in a single morning. The last image broadcast to every screen on Earth showed Commander Powell standing in front of a captured Vorsian vessel, the resistance flag, showing Earth with a raised fist, flying above it. The eye. "Counterattack is successful," he announced simply. "We have more work to do, but today marks the beginning of Earth's liberation." 3 days after the counterattack began, the Vorsian mothership still hovered above Geneva, but now it was surrounded by Earth aircraft and what remained of the pre-invasion military satellites, reactivated and retargeted by resistance technicians. The balance of power had shifted dramatically. Inside a conference room in the former United Nations building, Commander Powell sat across from Vorsian's Supreme Commander Draz Kor. The alien leader's arrogance had faded, replaced by a cold pragmatism. "You understand our position is still strong," Draz Kor said, his translator converting his clicks and hums into English. "We could still destroy your major cities from orbit." Admiral Morgan, sitting beside Powell, leaned forward. "And we could destroy your mothership and every Vorsian vessel on Earth. Your reinforcements aren't coming. We've been broadcasting the truth to your homeworld for 2 days now." This was true. Maria Ramirez and her team had reconfigured the orbital relay station to send Dr. Grant's message and Jacob's broadcast directly to the Vorsian home system. The response had been immediate. The promised reinforcement fleet had turned back. Dr. Grant observed the alien commander carefully. She could read his body language now, understanding the subtle twitches and color changes that revealed his emotions. "He knows he's defeated," she whispered to Powell, "but he needs to save face somehow." Powell nodded slightly before addressing Draz Kor again. "We are prepared to offer terms. Your remaining forces may leave Earth peacefully. In return, the Vorsian Alliance will acknowledge Earth's independence and agree to non-aggression." The negotiations continued for hours. Outside the building, people gathered in the thousands, watching on giant screens that had once shown fake footage of human defeat. Now they showed the real images of Earth's leaders taking control of their planet once more. Lisa Torres worked with a team of engineers to ensure the broadcast reached every corner of the globe. "People need to see this," she said. "After months of their propaganda, we need everyone to know we've won." Acting President Laura Wilson arrived from her hiding place in the Appalachian Mountains as the highest-ranking government official to survive the initial attack. She had been coordinating political resistance from secret locations. Now she entered the negotiation room, bringing the full weight of Earth's renewed authority. "Commander Powell has outlined our terms," she told Drazkor firmly. They are non-negotiable. Your deception has been exposed to both our worlds. It's time to end this. The alien commander's vertical pupils narrowed. After a long moment, he nodded once. We will withdraw. The agreement was signed within hours. Vorzian forces worldwide began retreating to their ships. In some places, skirmishes continued as hardline alien commanders refused to accept defeat, but these were quickly overcome by coordinated resistance forces. Dr. Fletcher watched from his laboratory as the first Vorzian ship lifted off from Atlanta. I never thought we'd actually win, he admitted to his team. I just wanted to give us a fighting chance. In cities across Earth, people emerged from hiding to reclaim their homes and streets. The cleanup and rebuilding would take years, but the human spirit remained unbroken. In many places, celebrations broke out spontaneously, with music and impromptu parades. Jacob Bennett worked with Kate Donovan to document everything. History needs to remember what happened here, he said as they filmed the Vorzian retreat from New York. How close we came to giving up and how we turned it around. 1 week after the counterattack began, the last Vorzian combat vessel left Earth's atmosphere. Only the mothership remained, preparing for its final departure. Commander Powell stood, with Admiral Morgan, Dr. Grant, and Acting President Wilson on the roof of the United Nations building, watching the massive ship above them. What do we do now? Powell asked quietly. They'll be back someday, or someone like them will come. President Wilson nodded soberly. That's why we'll be ready next time. No more separate nations fighting separately. Earth stands united from this day forward. The resistance leaders had already begun implementing this vision. Colonel Carter oversaw the integration of military forces from different countries into a unified Earth Defense Force. Engineers like Greg Wallace studied captured Vorzian technology, adapting it for human use. Lisa Torres headed the New Earth Cybersecurity Division, developing systems to protect against any future attempts at technological infiltration. They got in through our trust, she explained during the first planning meeting. We won't make that mistake again. Maria Ramirez became the commander of Earth's new orbital defense fleet, built from a combination of human and adapted alien technology. Her first priority was establishing a warning system that would detect approaching vessels long before they reached Earth. As the Vorzian mothership finally powered its engines and began to move away from Earth, Dr. Grant completed her translation of the aliens' complete language and technology database, information they had demanded as part of the withdrawal agreement. With this knowledge, she told the newly formed Global Science Council, we can advance our technology by centuries, not just for defense but for exploration, medicine, energy, everything. The broadcast that had once shown humanity's defeat now showed a very different scene. People worldwide working together to rebuild, to strengthen, to unite. Former enemies cooperated, sharing resources and knowledge for the common defense of their planet. 6 months after the Vorzian departure, Commander Powell, now Admiral Powell of the Earth Defense Force, stood in the newly constructed Global Defense Headquarters. The building incorporated both human and Vorzian design, a symbol of how Earth was moving forward. On the main screen, a message from the Vorzian homeworld appeared. It was a formal diplomatic communication, proposing trade relations and cultural exchange, this time as equals, not conquerors. They respect strength, Admiral Morgan observed. Now that they know we have it, they want to be friends. President Wilson considered the message thoughtfully. We'll proceed with caution, but I won't reject peace if it's genuinely offered. Dr. Grant had been appointed as Earth's chief xenolinguistics expert, responsible for all future alien communications. Their language patterns suggest they're sincere, she noted after studying the message. They've undergone significant political changes since our broadcast reached their world. The final scene played out on screens worldwide, a year after the Izidire invasion began. Admiral Powell stood on a platform with leaders from all nations. Behind them rose the new Global Unity Tower, built on the site where the Vorzian mothership had first appeared. Today we remember both what we lost and what we gained, Powell told the assembled crowd and the billions watching worldwide. We faced extinction and responded with unity. They aired our defeat, but we broadcast our resilience. President Wilson stepped forward to unveil a simple monument, a globe with a transmission tower rising from it, symbolizing how communication had been both the weapon used against humanity and the tool that had saved it. "Let this stand as a reminder," she said, "that humanity's greatest strength isn't in our weapons or technology, but in our ability to stand together against any threat. We are one planet, one people, and we have shown the stars that we will never surrender." As night fell, the tower lit up, sending a powerful transmission into space. Not a message of defiance or aggression, but a declaration of humanity's place in the universe. No longer isolated or vulnerable, but united and strong, ready to face whatever the cosmos might bring next.